if no one has been privy to know, yesterday the Bears acquired offensive guard, and I would like to say left guard, but I'm not sure what position he'll be playing. But offensive guard Jonah Jackson. Also today, the Bears traded away a fourth round pick in next year's draft for All Pro guard as well, Joe Thuney. Both of those guys originally played the left guard position. However, we will look at obviously where we think Jonah might go. And I say that because I'm not certain whether or not Jonah will be the day one starter, although I anticipate it. He's been a Pro Bowler a couple times, but he's not been an All Pro. That has been pretty much the career path of Joe Thuney. So while Joe is 32, a bit longer in the tooth, I do believe that he is the proverbial adult in the room. Joe was an All-Pro last year, four-time Super Bowl champ, and he's been on the offensive line for one Tom Brady and one Patrick Mahomes. So I would think that that guy has a level of veteran leadership and presence that the Bears have lacked on the offensive line. Also, Jonah is not a holdover, but a guy that Ben Johnson touched base with, and Jonah saw his most success with in Detroit as a Pro Bowl right guard, I believe. So, yes, he did have Panay Sewell and Frank Ragnow to bolster him in Detroit. Had a bit of a struggle this year, not playing the whole season. Injuries kind of wally pipped him, along with performance issues. He'll get an opportunity to have a fresh start with Ben Johnson again one more time. And also, Joe Thuney will get an opportunity to go ahead and, like I said, be the veteran presence, be the de facto best player in the room, and be the guy that everybody looks to in terms of getting some instruction and direction as far as those particular offensive line playmakers may go. Those guys are important, but all of those guys, for me, pale in comparison to the importance of getting a center for the Chicago Bears this offseason. Not many people come to mind when we speak of centers. I believe they have Indianapolis may allow their center to test the free agent markets, but the, I guess, prom king, if you would, for all intents and purposes, has been Atlanta center Drew Dahlman. It is speculated that the Bears will go ahead and drop a boatload of cash on that guy, get him all of the money that a Brinks truck could back up to him so that he can be the future snapper, confidant, and big brother to a one Caleb Williams as they go out there and try to make magic. So I would anticipate Drew Dahlman being signed. However, until that is done, we look at guys like a Jarrett Wilson from Georgia. And I'm not really certain that personally I've done much research for the center position. I think Dahlman has been kind of the proverbial catch for the year. Everybody might want him. I think the Bears do have enough money to go ahead and throw bread at him, so we will absolutely get to find out whether or not Drew Dahlman or someone else will be commanding center. My Christmas wish list for the Bears at that particular position would be Drew Dahlman. For guard, while I wanted a Will Freeze to go ahead or Fries, however anybody might pronounce it, Will, if you out there, let me know. Jonah Jackson is not somebody that I scoff at because I trust the process right now, and Ben Johnson is the person who is putting that process in motion. So him and Ryan, I believe, will go ahead and do everything they need to do to get the line going. And I do believe that we will have other persons even added to that line via draft. I don't think the free agency, while it allows us to have a bit more flexibility in the draft, I do not believe that it takes us away from actually going out and selecting other offensive linemen in the draft, in the earlier rounds at that. Maybe not first round. Maybe we've allowed ourselves opportunity to trade back. But worst case scenario, I do believe it gives us flexibility to go ahead and look at the offensive line from a fortified growth perspective. Kieran Amagaji will be another piece to keep eyes on. And I do believe, let's see, we still got guys like a Armand Mimbu, Tyler Booker, Gray Zabel. Those guys are still guards and tackles. Kelvin Banks Jr. Guys like that might still be available. If you traded back in the first round or maybe in the second round, you still have addressed the guard or maybe a potential future tackle to replace Braxton Jones. You never know. So I won't take off like the LSU left tackle, even though I've heard rumors today that old William is out there calling plays from the tackle position. I wouldn't know how feasible that is, but I heard it from someone who, for all intents and purposes, is a bit of a draft nick. Kind of loves to dive deep into the NFL draft. Nonetheless, if we can go ahead and call it a day, I would say that Drew Dalman will be the center that completes the trio in the middle of that offensive line, along with Joe Thuney and Jonah Jackson. Jonah being on the right, Joe being on the left, Drew lining up in the middle. Braxton and Darnell, I believe, will have growth years, along with Kieran Amagaji and other guys on the offensive line to go ahead and solidify us. Have us about 7 deep. They did sign a reserve. They did sign a reserve or backup in terms of a restricted free agent deal with Bill Murray today. Bill had a pretty decent game last year before he got hurt. So I believe that he will be a nice depth piece, and they will look for other people to provide depth as well. But on that particular side, that starting caliber type of center is crucial for improvement in terms of the interior. And I believe that allows us to focus, like I said, our draft assets on other things via multiplying, trading back, acquiring more draft picks, so on and so forth. With those particular draft picks that you might acquire, I would like to think that the Bears would be finding a defensive playmaker. If we could all understand, the Bears' defense was, at best, inconsistent last year. Flashes of brilliance early in the season, high turnover rate that fluctuated. Some injury did lend his hand to that, along with some questionable decision-making by Matt Eberflus at times. However, the defense does need to improve, and in finding those particular improvements, we looked in several areas. The pass rush as a whole was absolutely insidious, to say the least. And to think about the parts of how can I put it? The run defense was atrocious. 32nd in the league, bottom of the league. Absolutely did nothing to stop anyone, and everyone looked like Pro Bowl running backs and offensive lines against us.